I think Bitcoin represents, for the first time in the history of the human race, digital property, digital money, and digital energy. And that means 5,000 years have gone by. It's a pretty big innovation. It's, we had fire,
Yep.
we had electricity, we had Bitcoin.
Mhm.
So if you ask the question, what did it take to harness fire? Well, we spent thousands and thousands of years developing stoves and furnaces and engines to safely harness fire. And there have been lots of accidents. What did it take to harness electromagnetic energy, electricity, if you will? Well, it took many, many years, batteries and power line. And even today, right, it's still dangerous, right? The word shock, right? People get shocked,
Correct.
right? You have to inspect every single building to make sure that it's not a fire hazard. And they generally look at the electrical wiring. So there's a lot of technology required to make energy safe to use. And I think when you look at Bitcoin, it's digital energy. It can be scary, and if you handle your own keys and if you've got early technology, then you can make mistakes, and it's new. And I think that, yeah, there is innovation that needs to come. I think you're going to see, you already see ferocious innovation with the exchanges. You see applications like Cash App are putting a very friendly front end on top of Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network and the Lightning Network.
Michael Saylor has always been optimistic about Bitcoin and often expresses his opinions regarding cryptocurrency and its potential. He does not like gold, as it cannot be developed or rented, unlike real estate. MicroStrategy is a publicly traded company holding the largest Bitcoin, having around 121,000 Bitcoin, worth around $4.9 billion. MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor has recently expressed his views regarding Bitcoin and why it is the best store of value. Saylor recently spoke on his Twitter account to express his views on Bitcoin. He tweeted only last week, highlighting we are lucky to have Bitcoin. Hello and welcome to Money Talks. In today's video, Bitcoin guru, billionaire, and CEO of MicroStrategy Michael Saylor talks about Bitcoin as a property, settling oil transactions in Bitcoin or dollar, and the latest updates about the Bitcoin Mining Council. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the post notifications. Let's dive right into the video.
If you had $1 billion of Bitcoin, you could move it, in theory, even in a split second, right? Just by transferring the keys. So you could move Bitcoin 1 million times a second for free by transferring the keys. So you have the ability to pick the most favorable jurisdiction. You can take, it is the first property in the history of the world that you can take with you to your grave, right? The pharaohs attempted to build pyramids to take with them their gold and their jewels and their boats and whatever, their art. But they were all those tombs were cracked open and the grave robbers stole it all. And unless you were lucky enough to be buried underneath the sandstorm for 1,000 years, it was all going to be looted and pillaged.
Correct.
And you can't take your stocks with you, your company with you. But if, Satoshi disappeared forever,
Correct.
and the 1 million Bitcoin are gone, and Satoshi, in essence, took the Bitcoin to the grave or to the ether, wherever Satoshi might be. And if you die in possession of your private keys, the property is gone. In fact, it's better than destroying the property, because if you were to die with your private keys, you've made a pro rata contribution to everybody else on the Bitcoin network to enrich them.
Yep.
So the ultimate charitable contribution to the human race is simply to die with your private keys, because that way everybody else on the network had their purchasing power accreted.
Yep.
And That's not something you could do with any other form of property.
No.
Everything else you have to trust with a counterparty. Like gold, you have to store in a bank vault. And the problem is, in nearly every city on earth over the course of 100 years, the gold is seized. There's only a couple of cities you could have stored gold over the course of the 20th century without having it stolen. And so it's just very problematic.
So
There isn't really any other property I can think of that you can own. And so when I say, Bitcoin is property properly understood, you really do have an unfettered claim to your property rights, and anybody anywhere on earth
yeah.
can have the same strong claim because of the way the network is constructed. I think that the US dollar will remain the medium of exchange in the world for the time being, for our generation. And I think that the world, 100 million companies and 8 billion people would like to settle in dollars. And so I think if you look at the next decade, what's going to happen is the US dollar is going to be adopted as the primary currency by billions and billions of people. It's getting stronger, not weaker.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't any other currency you would rather hold or settle with than the dollar. I mean, they have an oil economy. Oil is chemical energy. And they have balance sheet, in essence, assets that are relying on oil. Bitcoin is digital energy. And so if you store $1 billion in oil, you have to use an oil tanker to move it around, and you can't store $1 billion worth of oil for 100 years. It's more expensive to store the oil than it's worth. If you store $1 billion of digital energy, you can move it at the speed of light for nearly free, and you can store it for 100 years. So Bitcoin is an ideal complement to all the Middle Eastern nations because it's the next evolution of energy, from chemical energy to nuclear energy to digital energy. The reason that nuclear energy or electrical energy really isn't a good diversification is you can't move $1 billion block of electricity anywhere in the earth. And you can't move $1 billion block of nuclear energy anywhere on earth. And you can't store those for 100 years. On the other hand, converting your energy into digital energy is something you can store at almost no cost forever. And you can move at the speed of light forever. So it's an ideal complement. You can generate it via Bitcoin mining. You can just convert your other assets into Bitcoin, and it is the foundation of the 21st century cyber economy. So it's a good complement.
Yeah,
and it's an opportunity. We've organized about 46% of the Bitcoin network into the Bitcoin Mining Council advisory organization. And we came together so we could gather information about the efficiency and the sustainability of the energy that's used to create Bitcoin, because a lot of questions about that. And the idea is to educate the world on how the Bitcoin mining network works. Our data keeps getting better. We started out with about 31% of the network, and now we're up to 46% of the network. And what we've discovered is that the members of the Bitcoin Mining Council actually run on 66% sustainable energy. And we define that as all the renewables like wind and solar and geothermal and hydro. And then we also add nuclear. And so it's a pretty good surrogate, basically non-carbon based energy sources. And we use that along with other sources to estimate the overall sustainability of the network, and it's 58.5%, which is the highest we've seen.
Very recently, talking to a nonprofit organization, Saylor also spoke about the advantages of Bitcoin over other major stores of value. According to him, real estate is a better idea than gold, but Bitcoin is the best option. If your grandmother or grandfather were smart enough to buy a real estate property in the city of New York and it still exists in the family, you're probably doing okay. Though he noted that real estate has its limitations. For instance, it is not always liquid and not at all portable. He further called Bitcoin to be an American dream if your property is not safe out of the country and it's not safe in your country. And to this, he answered that you could go to cyberspace and referred to Bitcoin. Michael Saylor is one of the most notable supporters of Bitcoin. He has often been vocal about the potential benefits of cryptocurrency and cites it to be one of the best investments. So, do you agree with Saylor that Bitcoin is the American dream? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.